Good morning. Welcome to another One Mind meditation. Seems as though this camera can be straightened just a little bit. There we are. One more little thing to get into place, and we'll be good to go. We're starting today's journey with two quotes from Thich Nhat Hanh that seem to look into different directions. The first quote looks outward and the second quote looks inward. Somebody, a very good morning. Hello. Great seeing you. The first thought from Thich Nhat Hanh today is, when another person makes you suffer, it is because he is suffering deeply within himself. And his suffering is spilling over. He does not need punishment, he needs help. And the second quote says, to be beautiful means to be yourself. You don't need to be accepted by others, you need to accept yourself. Anami, a very good morning. Charlene, good morning. Danae, good morning. Hello, beautiful people. Great having you right here. The first quote emphasizes an external focus, understanding the suffering of someone else. He doesn't need punishment, he needs help. And the second quote emphasizes an internal focus, self-acceptance. You don't need to be accepted by others, but you need to accept yourself. But there's a common thread here. What causes the suffering deeply within himself in the other one, and the lack of acceptance within myself, is very likely very similar, a deep inner woundedness. Thich Nhat Hanh speaks beautifully about attending to our wounded inner child, which is most often the root cause of all the things we struggle with. Anthony, a very good evening to you. Awesome seeing you, man. And Maggie, hello, good morning. Great having you live with us. The last thought from Thich Nhat Hanh says, to take good care of ourselves, we must go back and take care of the wounded child inside of us. You have to practice going back to your wounded child every day, suggests Thich Nhat Hanh. He says, you have to embrace him or her tenderly, like a big brother or a big sister. You have to talk to him, talk to her. And you can even write a letter to the little child in you of 2 or 3 pages to show that you recognize his or her presence, and will do everything you can to heal his or her wounds. I love how Thich Nhat Hanh speaks about this. He says, when you climb a beautiful mountain, invite your little child within you to climb with you. When you contemplate the beautiful sunset, invite him or her to enjoy it with you. If you do that for a few weeks or a few months, the wounded child in you will be healed. He says, mindfulness is the energy that can help us to do this. Finding acceptance for every part of you changes everything. When you understand how every part of you came into being, then it's clear to see how everything inside of you has been doing its best to help you survive. When you see yourself differently, you start to speak to yourself differently, and your inner narrative becomes one of empowerment. When you have this level of self-acceptance, then it brings you full circle back to the first quote again, being able to really see another, and recognize that so much of what drives the humans around us is the result of their struggling to deal with a wounded inner child. Doing your work, healing your own wounded parts, that makes you able to give the humans around you the space they need to take a look at their own selves without fear of judgment. So if you're ready, our journey today is called a sense of self, and during today's meditation, we invite those inner children to come and sit with us. You can close your eyes, and we'll take the first few big breaths together. Let's take a deep breath in and out. Take a deep breath in and out. A deep inhale. And let it go. Deep breath in and out. One more big breath in and let it all flow away. You can continue the same breathing pattern on your own time. Every slow inhale through your nose gets drawn all the way deep down into your belly. And as you fill up your belly with air, also raise yourself up. As you breathe in, stretch out your spine, lift the top of your head toward the ceiling. And once you've reached your full height, let all of it go. With every exhale, soften. With every breath out, soften your spine, slump down your shoulders, and even drop your head. While you continue your full body breathing, while you feel your own body rise with every inhale and feel your body fall with every exhale, we are going to invite some of our inner children to come and sit with us. In my mind, this exercise always looks like a grade 1 teacher inviting the children to come and sit with her on the carpet for something like story time or perhaps just a conversation. The examples I'm using today of inner children to invite are the hurt part, a part of you that sometimes feels hurt, feels wounded. Then the inner critic, a part of you that tends to speak to you in a hypercritical way. That part of you that is so good at attacking you, criticizing you, judging you. Invite that inner child to come and sit as well. And then the scared part of you. The part of you that often feels fearful of life, the world, the future. You're of course welcome to use different examples. Any part of you that you might be struggling to deal with lately. If not, the easy examples for today are the hurt part, the inner critic, and the scared part. Invite them to breathe along with you. Imagine you could see their bodies rise and fall as they sit with you. While it's not super important that you have to see a clear image of these three inner children, I will ask you a few more times to see if you can find an image of them. What does the hurt part look like? What does the inner critic look like? What does the scared part look like? And it's okay to simply dip into your imagination. Give an image to each of these. Assign something. But I have to mention again, it's not important that you have a visual sense of what this part looks like. It simply helps to form a way of interacting with what is in you. We'll take the last few big breaths of this phase together. And as we help our bodies stretch, adjust, and settle down, invite these inner children to stretch along with you. Take a deep breath in. As you release, drop your head all the way forward and roll out your neck muscles. Forward and to the left, and forward and to the right. Take a deep breath in. As you release, roll your shoulders forward in big, slow circles. Take a deep breath in. As you release, roll your shoulders backwards in big circles, nice and slow. Take a deep breath in. As you release, focus on your spine. See if you're able to tilt your head to the left while you tilt your hips to the right, curving your spine into an S from your head down to your tailbone. And then see if you can change the directions. Can you tilt your head to the right and your hips to the left? One more big breath in. And as you release, you can stretch or move or adjust any part of your body that still needs a bit of help settling down. Having softened our bodies into a state of presence, or at least doing our best to be as present as we can be right now. We can now turn our attention inwards and dive deep inside for the next part of our journey. With every next inhale, we'll hold our breath for a few short moments, followed by a really long, really slow exhale. If you don't have time to sit for the whole meditation with us, then this is always a good place to stop. But if you are here for the whole journey, we'll take the next few big breaths together. Take a deep breath in and hold. As you release, make it a really long, really slow exhale. Take a deep breath in and hold. As you release, feel into your body. Feel how softness slips into your body and settles in every part of your body. Take a deep breath in and hold. As you release, follow the downwards flow through your body. Feel your shoulders slowly falling. Feel your body slowly softening, and feel how you are slowly slipping deeper into you. One more big breath in and hold. And as you release, feel yourself melting. Feel your whole body dissolving. Feel how you are slipping into a deeper level of surrender with every slow exhale. You can continue the same breathing pattern on your own time. Every slow inhale through your nose is an invitation. It invites you to dive inwards and spend some time holding you. As you breathe in, feel the air flow in through your nostrils. Feel the air touch the back of your throat. Stay with your breath as it flows in through your lungs, and as you fill up the balloon inside your belly, feel yourself slip all the way in. Hold your breath. But hold your breath only for as long as it feels easy, followed by a really long, really slow exhale. With your next big breath, as you dive deep into you, remind yourself of these inner children that you've invited. In today's example, we're inviting the hurt part, a part of you that perhaps sometimes feels hurt, feels wounded. We're inviting the inner critic, a part of you that sometimes speaks to yourself in a hypercritical way, and the scared part, a part of you that sometimes feels fearful. Take a good look at them, hold them, or perhaps just have them sit in front of you as you take your next big breath. As you take your next big breath and dive deep into you, I want you to get a good look at these three inner children again. Open yourself to the possibility of seeing what the hurt part of you might look like. What would the inner critic look like, and what would the scared part of you look like? And as you take this big breath, as you dive deep into you, have a conversation with these three inner children. Let them know that today what we're doing is listening to them. We're listening in order to get to know them. We're listening in order to get better at understanding them. Take your next big breath. We turn our attention first to the hurt part, a part of you that sometimes feels hurt, feels wounded. As you take your next big breath and dive deep into you, we are inviting this hurt part to speak. In other words, remind yourself of your own thoughts, your own feelings and emotions when this hurt part in you becomes active, becomes triggered. What are the things that go through your mind when this hurt part speaks? What are the things you say to yourself? And pay particular attention to how many of these things will be repeated in your mind every time that this part gets triggered. In other words, there's a well-formed recording that plays again and again and again. Right now, as you take a deep breath and dive deep into you, try and listen to that recording with an openness, with an acceptance to just hear it again. Take your next big breath. Then again, try for a moment to see this hurt part in a way that you'd almost see another human being outside of you. Could you take a step backwards and try and interact with this hurt part in the same way you would interact with another human? I want you to ask this hurt part a question and then just listen in the same way you would listen to another human. As you take your next big breath And as you dive deep into you, take a look at the hurt part and ask this question. Say to the hurt part, in those moments where you feel triggered, in those moments where you feel so hurt, what is it you're afraid is going to happen then? What is it that you are afraid will happen? And now just listen as you take your next big breath. I want to take a moment to thank the hurt part for speaking. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being seen, for being heard. We know that's a brave thing to do. We'll turn our attention now to the inner critic, the part of you that often speaks to you in a highly critical way. As you take your next big breath and dive deep into you, remind yourself of how this inner critic speaks. And pay attention particularly to the repetitive nature of the things that this inner critic says. You will certainly notice that it's the same old things on repeat. As you take your next big breath and dive deep into you, invite that part to be heard. And can you just listen? Can you just hear the same recording again? Take your next big breath. Then turn to this inner critic as you'd be able to turn to any human and have a conversation. Ask the inner critic this question and then sit back and listen. As you take your next big breath, as you dive deep into you, say to the inner critic, I have a feeling that you're trying to protect me some way. I have a feeling you're trying to prevent something bad from happening. So when you criticize me so badly, what is it you're trying to prevent? What is the bad thing that you're trying to stop from happening? Now take your next big breath and just listen. We're taking a moment to thank the inner critic as well. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being seen. Thank you for being heard. We'll turn our attention now to the last of these inner children, the scared part. Part of you that sometimes feels fearful, perhaps fearful about the future. As you take your next big breath and dive deep into you, we are asking the scared part to speak. Remind yourself of the thoughts and emotions that go through you when the scared part is triggered. And pay particular attention to the repetitive nature of these thoughts and feelings. It is most likely to be like a recording playing again and again and again. Right now, can you just hear that recording without judging it? Just be open to hearing it again. Take your next big breath. And now turn to the scared part, just as you would turn to any human for a conversation. And as you take your next big breath and dive deep into you, ask the scared part this question. Say, scared part. In those moments where you feel so scared, what is your deep desire for me? In the moments that you feel so scared, what is it that you really want for me? Now take your next big breath and listen. Take a moment to thank the scared part for being seen, for being heard. I thank you to all these inner children for sharing with us today. We'll take one more big breath of this phase together to slip out of the breath holding space and into the next, and have these inner children be wherever it is that they want to be. Do they want to sit next to you? Do they want to sit on your lap? Do they want to sit on your shoulder, or perhaps be carried around inside of you? Whichever. Take your next big breath. As you release, feel yourself slip all the way through. There is no more attention on your breathing. You can sit all the way back, or you can lie all the way back down and feel yourself just floating. We all have a subconscious that consists of things, information, events in the past that has been stored and placed in some kind of a recording. We all have experience of that old recording being triggered again and again. Multiple different ones at different times. But we can see how it's the same old thing on repeat. We can be caught up in that recording. We can feel like we are living inside of that recording. Or we can take a step back and recognize that recording for what it is. It's old thoughts, old meaning that has been made way back in the past, being played over and over again. When we take a step back from that, when we can listen to what the hurt part has to say, then we're clearly not embodying the hurt part. We are embodying something else. When I can listen to what the inner critic has to say, I'm embodying a different part of me. And the more we practice this, the better we get at embodying this other part of ourselves. What would we call that? Our higher self, our wisdom, our soul, the observer. Whatever we call that, the more we practice embodying that part, the more we are that version of ourselves. Thich Nhat Hanh speaks beautifully about this process too, and I'll read it to you one more time. He says, to take good care of ourselves, we must go back and take care of the wounded child inside of us. You have to practice going back to your wounded child every day. You have to embrace him or her tenderly, like a big brother or a big sister. You have to talk to him, talk to her. And you can even write a letter to the little child in you, a letter of 2 or 3 pages, to show that you recognize his or her presence, and you will do everything you can to heal his or her wounds. When you climb a beautiful mountain, invite your little child within to climb with you. When you contemplate the beautiful sunset, invite him or her to enjoy it with you. If you do that for a few weeks or a few months, the wounded child in you will be healed. Mindfulness is the energy that can help us do this, says Thich Nhat Hanh. And the better we get at this, the better we get at listening to that inner child, and as we're listening, embodying the best part of you, embodying the wise part of you. From that perspective, the other 2 quotes are simple. When another person makes you suffer, it is because he is suffering deeply within himself, and his suffering is spilling over. He does not need punishment, he needs help. And to be beautiful means to be yourself. You don't need to be accepted by others, you need to accept yourself. And what greater acceptance is there than when you can open your arms wide to these inner children, hear them, understand how they're trying to help you cope, how they're trying to help you survive. And then you can choose how to reply to them. How would your soul speak to them? And become more and more the embodiment of that soul. We have the last 5 breaths of gratitude to do together. With every exhale, I'll say my thank you and I invite you to say yours. Take a deep breath in. Thank you for learning how to listen to what calls within me. Take a deep breath in. Thank you for learning how when I am listening, then I'm not being the reactive part of me. Take a deep breath in. Thank you for learning how to practice embodying the wiser part of me, embodying my soul, the part of me that has arms big enough to hold these inner children and to listen to them. Take a deep breath in. Thank you for learning that most people really are caught in the same struggle, dealing with their inner children, or perhaps not realizing that they're dealing with their inner children. And always in that struggle, always embodying those very reactive parts. Take a deep breath in. Thank you, beautiful people. Thank you for being on this journey. The last thought that comes up is the first quote. He doesn't need punishment, he needs help. And really learning that no one needs our punishment. There is no one that needs our punishment. And perhaps we can't always help. But what really helps is to step away from the feeling that we need to punish someone for the way they treated us. If we're able to recognize their wounded child, perhaps at the very least, we can feel empathy, and we might feel the need to walk away, because perhaps we don't know how else to help, other than not be another person attacking them. Colette, a very good morning. It's great to see you live with us. Hello. Pupe, awesome seeing you popping in. Nella, good morning. It's great seeing you. Hello. Lots of love for you all. Thank you, Sunmarie. Thank you, Danae. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Anami. Wishing you an awesome day. See you soon. Ciao, ciao.